The second equation of motion relates displacement s with initial velocity and acceleration in time. Acceleration in time, which is and acceleration in time, and acceleration in time, and acceleration in time, and acceleration in time. The second equation of motion relates displacement s with the initial velocity. Displacement under velocity s under velocity and initial velocity and acceleration in time. Second equation of motion relates with the second equation of motion relates with the displacement. Second equation of motion relates with displacement s with initial velocity. Displacement s with initial velocity and acceleration in time. The second equation of motion relates to and acceleration in time. It and the area under velocity time curve. The displacement is equal to area of a rectangle plus area. Second equation of motion relates displacement. Second equation of motion relates displacement with initial velocity. Second equation of motion relates displacement. Second equation of motion relates second equation of motion relates and second equation of motion relates displacement. Second equation of motion relates displacement. Second equation of motion relates with the second equation of motion relates with displacement s with initial velocity and acceleration. Second equation of motion relates with displacement displacement s with initial velocity displacement as shown in the figure. Displacement is equal to area of a rectangle plus area of angle triangle. Okay. Second equation of motion relates displacement. Second equation of motion relates displacement s with the initial velocity. S with the initial velocity. Second equation of motion relates with the initial velocity. Second equation of motion relates the second equation of motion relates displacement as with initial velocity. Second equation of motion relates displacement second equation of motion relates displacement with initial velocity and acceleration under velocity g. The area under velocity time curve represents the displacement is equal to area plus of rectangle plus area of triangle. Second equation of motion relates displacement. Second equation of motion relates displacement as the second equation of motion relates displacement as in final initial velocity and acceleration initial velocity and acceleration in time. The area under velocity time curve. 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 Area under velocity time curve. Velocity time curve represents area under velocity time curve represents the displacement represents the displacement is equal to area of rectangle plus area of single triangle. Area of rectangle is equal to area of triangle. I should do as you are required proof you are required is proved third equation of motion third equation of motion relates to displacement as third equation of motion relates to displacement as final velocity initial velocity and acceleration without and constant acceleration at without including and constant acceleration without including without including time t without including time t area the equation of motion relates to displacement as graph curve can be calculated. 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 graph can be calculated by making the total area by taking the total area of taking total area of trapezium OABD, which represents the total displacement S. Which show the total displacement S. Which show the total motion rates and final velocity V, initial velocity V, and constant acceleration A without including time, constant acceleration 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 without including time. And the area under velocity time graph, and the area under velocity time graph. Area under velocity time graph. The under velocity time graph. The area under the velocity time graph. The area under velocity time graph. Yeah, velocity time graph can be calculated by take the total area of trapezium of the trapezium total calculated by taking the total area of trapezium OABD which represents the total displacement as the third equation of motion relates displacement as final velocity v, initial velocity v, and constant acceleration a without including time t, and the area under velocity time graph can be graph curve can be calculated by taking the total area of trapezium OABD, which represents the total displacement s. The equation of motion relates displacement as initial velocity v, final velocity v, and constant acceleration without including time. The area under velocity time graph. The area under velocity time graph. The area under velocity time graph. Graph curve can be calculated. The area under velocity time graph curve can be calculated. Graph curve can be calculated. The area without including time. The area under velocity time graph. The area under velocity time graph. Area velocity time graph. Can be calculated. The curve can be calculated. Curve can be calculated by taking the total area of trapezium, which represent the total displacement as Your can be calculated. Graph cure can be calculated. Graph can graph curve can be calculated by taking the total area of trapezium of OABD, which represents the total displacement as the equation of motion relates displacement as final velocity v, initial velocity v, and constant acceleration a, without including time t, area under velocity with time graph. The area under velocity time graph can be calculated by taking a total area of trapezium, taking the 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 total area of trapezium, taking total area of trapezium, OABD, taking the total, taking the total, taking the total. Third equation of motion relates displacement as final velocity v, initial velocity v, and constant acceleration a without including time. And constant acceleration a without including time. And concentration without third equation of motion relates displacement final velocity v, initial velocity v, and constant acceleration taking constant acceleration without time and area under velocity time graph. The area under velocity time graph curve can be calculated. Area under velocity time graph curve can be calculated by the total area of trapezium OABD, which represents the total displacement as area of trapezium OABD, which represents बस आज के लिए इतनी गाना मारो सारी बस आज के लिए इतना ही मेरी तरफ से और सारी गाना मारो बहुत